This is the tile I'm installing. It's a glass mosaic tile. It's a 2 inches by 2 inches. Okay, so this is the tile that I'm installing on this little backsplash. It's a very small backsplash for a bathroom vanity. It's actually fairly transparent. Some are more transparent than others. This one's got not quite as much as the other one. Some are more, some are less. Some are high gloss. Some are more matte. But if you put the light on the back of this, you can see it's pretty transparent. So what that means is you want to make sure that you don't see the ridges of the thinset under the tile. Now this one here, this particular tile here is not going to be quite as critical, but some of them are clearer than this one. Now, so what that means is, as you'll see in the video, I will you know, spread the thinset with the notch side of the trowel and get it all even, and then I'll use the back side of a trowel to flatten all the ridges down. I won't be removing any thinset, I'm just flattening the ridges. So that way when you set this tile into the thinset, the ridges will already be flattened, and you want to make sure you pick the correct size trowel for the purpose. Now you don't want the trowel to be too big, because then the thinset will squeeze through and up the size of the tile, and you don't want to pick a trowel that's too small, because then what will happen is you won't get enough coverage on the back of the tile, and you want the back of the tile to have 100% coverage. So you're going to spread the thinset, and you're going to flatten it out, and then you're going to apply a tile, and you're going to push it in. I usually use a float. You can use a beater block, or you can also, you know, just do it with your fingers and make sure that you got everything all set. Now this is glass tile, and the reason why it has the plastic on the front, see it's got plastic on the front, is because if they had a mesh on the back of the tile, when you installed the tile, the mesh would show through the front of the tile. So they use this plastic. In this case it's plastic. Sometimes it'll be paper faced. It'll have like a brown paper on it to hold all the tiles together. This one here has a plastic on it, and this one is stuck so well that I actually had to wait the next day to peel it off. Because if I tried to peel it off after I'd installed it, and it was just starting to pull the tile off the wall. So I waited for the next day. If it was a paper-faced mosaic tile, then you would need to take it off shortly after you set it. Maybe 10 or 15 minutes later, you would wet the paper down and take it off, and it usually comes off very easily. And the reason you do more of that on that type of paper face tile is because you can't see the tile, and you don't know if any thinset is squeezed through, and you don't know if the tiles are aligned. With this plastic, you can actually see what's underneath. So you also want to make sure you use a high polymer content thinset mortar. And what does that mean? It's that the thinset has a very good bonding ability. So you want to make sure you use that type of thinset. Usually it'll be an ANSI A118.15 thinset, but be careful that the thinset is actually usable for glass tiles. Some of them are not. Most of them are, but some of them are not. And some are specifically made for glass tile. Okay, so we talked about the mortar that needs to be the correct mortar for glass tile. That's very, very important. You want to make sure you get a thinset that will actually stick to the glass tile. And as I mentioned before, that's usually an A118.15 thinset mortar, and it has to be white. You don't want to use a gray thinset for glass tile because it's going to change the color of the tile. It has to be white. They also, like I said, have thinset mortars specifically made for glass tile. I actually have a video that specifically talks about glass and a lot of the things you need to know about installing glass. I will link that video in the cards and in the description so that you can find it. In this case, there's really nothing around the tile. It just sits on the vanity, and I actually lift the tile a little bit to leave a little bit of a gap for caulk underneath. So when you're doing something like this where it's just all open all the way around, it's actually pretty quick and pretty easy. So, you know, this has the plastic on the front, so it's really not going to get the face of the tile too dirty because, you know, it's covered in plastic. But you still want to pay attention to the grout lines. Make sure that thinset is not squeezing through the tile, and if you have to, you're going to cut the plastic and clean it out. Important thing is to clean as you go. Make sure you keep the tile surface as clean as possible. So as you can see, I'm pressing in the tile with the float as much as possible, and I even sometimes go over with my fingers, making sure everything's nice and even. And then I'm going to lift the corner of one tile to see how much coverage I got, to make sure that I got 100% coverage. And as you can see, it's very good. With transparent glass tile, coverage is critical. If you don't get 100% coverage and the tile is transparent, you're going to see the grout, the ridges of the thinset underneath. So it's very, very, very important that you do this correctly. This particular tile is transparent, but it's not completely clear. So if it's not, you know, completely 100% perfect, you're probably not gonna see it. But some tiles are completely clear. And in that case, you want to make sure that you do it correctly and get 100% coverage. And you're not going to be able to see that. If you've got a paper face tile, you're not going to be able to see that as you're installing it. So you need to follow proper procedures. Okay, so I got all the tile installed. Now I'm just gonna go over it, check to see if I need to clear out any thinset, make any adjustments. I'm gonna have to cut the plastic in some places to check it. As you can see here, I'm trying to see if I can pull the plastic off, but it's just stuck too well, so I'm gonna have to take it off the next day when I grout. Okay, so I'm happy with the tile. So I'm going to check the top edge, make sure that it's perfectly straight, and make any adjustments that I need to make. And then I'm going to put the pencil liner around the perimeter and finish it up. Okay, so it's time to install the pencil liner. So I'm just going to figure out exactly how I'm going to start it. Probably one piece in the middle and a piece on each end, miter the corners, and then that's pretty much it. So these were the only 2 cuts I had to make for this little vanity top backsplash. So this whole project was pretty quick and easy. So a couple of quick little cuts on the wet saw to miter these corners, and then I'm just going to hit it with a rubbing stone, the cut edges, to make sure that they're not sharp and they're nice and smooth. So again here, I'm going to make sure that I get full coverage on these glass pieces, and then I'm going to set them, and then I'm going to clear out any thinset that might ooze out from the edges. Okay, so if this is the first time seeing my videos, my name is Sal de Blasi. I'm a tile contractor in the Boston area, mainly on the North Shore. My channel has over 760 videos, pretty much all to do with tile. So leave your comments in the comment section below. Also check me out on Patreon. If you can support me there, that'll be great. I will leave some links in the description to some of the tools that I'm using, like the rubbing stone and maybe the margin trowel. And that'll be to my Amazon store. And most importantly of all, don't forget to subscribe. And thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this video. Okay, so that's done. Back tomorrow. Okay, so this is the next day, and as I said, that plastic was stuck really good. There was no way I was going to pull it off the same day that I set the tile. So I'm going to pull all this plastic off, get it cleaned up as best I can, and then start grouting. Okay, so the grout I'm using here is Mapei Ultra Color FA Plus, and I actually just uploaded a video about how to use this grout properly and how to grout it. So you can refer to that video if you want to know exactly how to use this grout. It's a very stain resistant grout. I'll give a lot of detailed information about how to grout in that video. So I'll put a link also in the cards in the description to that video. So something to keep in mind when you're grouting glass tile is that if you've got a sanded grout, you want to be sure that the sand in the grout is not going to scratch the surface of the tile, especially for a high gloss tile. For a matte tile, it's not as important, but for a high gloss tile, you want to be sure that it does not scratch the tile. And I actually did a little test with this grout on this tile before I started, and I was confident that it was going to be okay. Okay, so I waited for it to set up a little bit. Now I'm washing it down, and then I'm going to caulk the bottom. I forgot to turn the camera on when I caulked the bottom edge where the glass tile meets the counter. So that joint has to be a soft joint. Okay, so again, I let the wash tile dry and haze over, and now I'm wiping it down with some paper towels. This is a really quick little backsplash. The whole thing took me, I think, like an hour and a half. Okay, so a quick little tour of the entire bathroom. Large ceramic tile on a running bond pattern in the main area of the bathroom. Bench seat. Hexagonal mosaic tile on the shower floor, and the glass tile on the backsplash with the, also the niche was framed in marble. Schluter trim to trim out the edges of the tile.